Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Means we're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jordan Kitchens and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Let's talk LSU depth chart on the defensive side of the football. Exiting spring, we'll do that in 15 minutes. It's What If Wednesday. Highly encourage your participation in the Bayou 4 chat or on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. Just hit me up there. Dr. Chris Bankhead from Oxford is going to jump aboard to talk a little bit about the term injury prone, because that's what you're hearing a lot about the Saints' first round pick, and it's something that obviously was discussed with Garrett Nussmeier entering his draft process as well. So we'll talk to Dr. Bankhead about that coming up in 45 minutes. Koki Riley covers the LSU baseball team. He was in Starkville over the weekend. He was there last night. He'll chat with us at 2 o'clock. SEC baseball power rankings are 90 minutes away, so plenty to do on this Wednesday. Let's crank it up the way we do every day with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
So there were some layers to last night at the box. There was the first inning and top of the second. That was one layer. And then there was the rest of the game. That was another layer. And then there was Jay Johnson in the post game. That was kind of a third layer. And I am, again, not here to start to suggest that this team's on the precipice of turning things around, or that this was a monumental victory over Southeastern. Just light conversation here. You start the game with Reagan Ricken on the mound. You're in the middle of really focusing on getting your freshman development. You're starting 4 of them every day in your position group, and you're sending a freshman out there on Tuesday to start the game. You're going to kind of give him a little bit of rope. And so how does he answer that call? Well, he walks the first hitter on 5 pitches, and then he gives up a chopping infield single. And then after a mound visit, he hits the 3-hole hitter. So he has loaded the bases without getting an out, and they took him out of the game. That's just not even close to good enough. And it's puzzling because I feel comfortable suggesting that Reagan Ricken doesn't go out there in bullpens and just spray the ball all over the place. But these guys, a number of them, not just a freshman problem, not just a starting pitching problem, a lot of them get out there and just cannot throw it over the plate. The most fundamental aspect of this sport, just controlling the strike zone. Couldn't do it. So Lockenmeyer comes in, gets a sac fly, gets out of it. Okay. They only got one. It wasn't a work of art, but they only got one. And then you come back in the bottom of the first inning and get a couple. Cerna with a screaming single. Curiel smokes a double. He moves up on a wild pitch. Kate Arambidi punches a single through the shift. And, all right, you've settled things down. It's now 2-1, and you move on to the second inning. And Lockenmeyer goes back out, and he walks the leadoff guy on 4 pitches. Gets a couple strikeouts. That's good. And then gives up a single. And then Perry, the slugger from Southeastern, their best hitter, hits the scoreboard. So it's 4-2. It's 4-2, and this is just how LSU's played in the midweek all year. Struggling to assert themselves against lesser teams. It's 4-2, and you're in a dogfight. And from that point on, the bottom of the second all the way through the ninth, LSU played quality baseball. The offense was very good. You saw Curiel go deep with a home run. You saw more good at-bats from Braun. You saw a couple of hits from Ruckert. William Patrick got asked to put down a couple of bunts. He did that. You saw solid pitching. Now, it takes Zach Cowan and Gavin Guidry, 2 fourth-year players, to come out there and throw the ball over the plate, but they did that, and they hung zeros against Southeastern. You weren't credited with an error. I don't know if that was necessarily indicative of exactly how LSU played defensively, but I'll say this. Jack Ruckert made a couple nice plays at second base. Tanner Reeves fielded a one-hop shot over at third that LSU's kicked around a little bit this year. Mason Braun made a catch diving in right field. you did some good things on defense. You moved the baseball. You didn't strike out a lot. You hit a home run. You hit some doubles. Some young guys chipped in. Like, it was pretty good baseball for the last 7.5 innings. I don't have a lot of complaints about that. So that's a good thing. And a lot of it is spearheaded by these younger players. As I mentioned, Braun had a hit and an RBI. Cerna had a hit and an RBI. Kade Arambidi, 2 hits, including an RBI. He also drew a walk. You saw Jack Ruckert with a 2-for-3 night. He scored 3 times. William Patrick, 2 RBIs, 2 bunts that he got down. You saw Patrick put a bunt down and Ruckert scored from second base. It took a bad throw from the first baseman, but that's the point of the play. You put the pressure on the defense doesn't come through, and you get the run. Like, it was good offensively, and when you got the veterans in there to pitch, it looked like a functional baseball game. It looked like LSU midweek games should look. And so that was the second layer to this thing. The third layer to this was actually in the postgame. And it's something that the beat writers there picked up on and asked Jay Johnson about it. And he was, again, pretty forthcoming. And this is echoing what he said to us, me and Koki, on Saturday. We were the 2 LSU media members that were there, and it echoes what he said on Sunday. But I'll read you the quotes that Jay Johnson had, and you get a sense of, like, where he is right now. They asked why Josh Simpson wasn't coaching first base. And Josh Simpson has coached first base all year. Mark Wanaka was coaching first. And they were basically asking, like, is he okay? And Jay's like, yeah, he's recruiting. The quote is, and I quote Jay here, he was out recruiting today. I don't like doing that, but we're at a point where we need to do that. I held off. I was considering doing it with him and Coach Jordan last week and decided not to, which was the right decision. Simpson needed to go cover some ground today and tomorrow, so he's out of town recruiting. So, and keep in mind, this is not new. Paul Maneri very often had Javi Sanchez and Will Davis on the road in midweek games. Davis less so when he became the third base coach. But, like, he oftentimes had guys on the road in the midweek at that time. At that time, there was no transfer portal. The only way you got players was high school recruiting, and guys, they were recruiting during the season, evaluating guys during the season all the time. This is not a new thing, but it's not something Jay Johnson has done this year, and it's not something he's done a lot of in his time at LSU, but he did that over Tuesday. And he continued with this quote. I've never been in a position like this. Even in the Mountain West, you had the Mountain West tournament as double elimination. My first year at Nevada, we would have had to win the tournament to get in. But every other year, we've been in position to be in the NCAA tournament. And that's not really the case as we sit here today. He said that. Now, he was very, very intentional in suggesting there is more time. And he's not giving up. But he is being realistic. And I think there's probably 70% of LSU fans that would hear that quote and go, good. You better go recruit. You better take seriously the future of the program because this team's not good enough. And there's probably 30% that go, oh, you're quitting on the team? And, like, he's not quitting on the team. He's very clear about this. And if you watch Jay Johnson, and I talked to him after every game, not individually, but Koki was there. Koki and I talked to him after every game over the weekend. He's not taking the losses any better. He's not quitting. He's not just punting the season and making sure that he's got high school recruits. He's coaching these guys. But he is also being realistic with where the team is. The team currently is 6-15 in the league, has a road trip going to a top 5 team in the country next week, and the odds that LSU gets an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament are slim and none. He knows that. He's going to coach these guys incredibly hard on Friday. They had a long practice yesterday pregame and came out and played very well. And you are seeing some of these younger guys play well. And Jay said, we need to figure out where we're headed with some guys. And since I've inserted them, meaning the young players, or we inserted those guys, we've scored 8 runs in 5 consecutive games. We look like our team offensively now. And I would agree with that. LSU scored 46 runs on 53 hits over the last 5 games. That's over 10 hits a game. That's almost 10 runs a game. You had 11 doubles and 9 homers over that stretch. Mason Braun and Omar Cerna had huge weekends in Starkville. We covered that yesterday. Jack Ruckert had a nice day last night. William Patrick is coming along, and they're starting Marcos Paz. He said yesterday in the postgame that Paz is scheduled to start a game this weekend. He hesitated to go when that would be because they don't know what Casey Evans' status is for this weekend. Maybe he can pitch. Maybe he can start. Maybe he has to hold until Sunday. Paz and Schmidt will probably start one game, and Evans may start another. They may bullpen another. But Paz is one of the freshmen that he wants to get an extended look at this point in the season. But he went back to the recruiting piece, and this is looking at the future of the program, not really looking at Tuesday. He said, I want to do better in the draft this year. We can't fight guys getting $3 million in the fourth round, but this is a good high school class, a lot of guys that can make some impact. We're going to have 6 or 7 guys drafted off this team, maybe 8, but I would probably say 6 would be my guess right now. So you're filling some of that. There are some seniors obviously moving along, so it's kind of a turnover year from us. He's talking about into next year. You're turning over a significant part of your roster. That's very obvious. You're not going to have Curiel. You're not going to have Jake Brown. You're probably not going to have Minot. You're not going to have Simpson or Dardar or York or Caraway. You're going to be down a lot of your position group. Chris Stanfield won't be back. So you've got to fill those spots. And Jay knows that that transfer portal can be tricky. So he feels like he's got a high school class that may have the next Curiel, that may have the next Braun, that may have the next Cerna. Stephen Milam helped 2 years ago as a true freshman. Jared Jones helped as a true freshman. You might have that next guy. You got to make sure you get them through the draft. So they're making they're making a point to go visit these kids, lay the foundation out, and I think probably start recruiting them against the draft at this point because they're already signed on the dotted line. So this is what he's focusing on right now. He's coaching the team, but he's managing the program. This is the last quote I'll give is we don't feel good about our record and where we're at in the immediate in the 2026 season, but it's not over yet. There's still a lot of baseball to be played, and we're going to make the most of it. I'm proud of the guys Tuesday night. That was a long bus ride home after 3 gut punches where the offense, frankly, did its job and the pitching and defense did not. We win as a team. We lose as a team. I was very interested to see how we showed up tonight, meaning Tuesday, and I couldn't be happier. So it was a nice day for LSU against Southeastern. You won last midweek, too, and it didn't matter because you got trucked in 9 straight conference games. But your coach understands the situation. He's not being stubborn. He's not pouting. He's coaching. He's made a decision. We're going with these young guys, and they're playing better. And we're looking at this freshman class for next year and doing the best we can to get as many of those guys through the draft as possible. Because they lost 8 guys out of the draft class last year to the professional ranks. And that, I mean, I thought they did okay because they got some guys through. I thought it was huge to get Cerna through. I thought it was huge to get Paz through. I thought it was important to get Braun and Ricken through, even though I didn't think they were as big a risks. I thought those were important gets, but there were 8 other guys. And I talked to Jay Johnson after the draft to write a story for LouisianaSports.net, and I could tell in his voice that he was uncomfortable with the way that went. And that's not necessarily a reflection on this team because you don't want to start. I mean, they're starting 4 freshmen right now. You don't want to start 6 freshmen. Injuries have impacted things. Obviously, you didn't consider Jake Brown being out of the lineup, Chris Stanfield being out of the lineup. But he knew that we let some guys get away there. And that doesn't necessarily come home to roost in 2026. It does in 2027. So you've got to make sure you're developing players that are ready to go next year. That's what he's doing with these 4 freshmen that are playing every day, getting those guys as many bats as possible so they're ready for league play next year and don't have to ramp up. Aaron Beatty got some seasoning last year. You see the year that he's having, and you got to hope you get some freshmen, and then you're going to have to go in the transfer portal and find some offensive players and certainly some pitching as well. But there's certainly attention on that aspect of the program right this second. They're coaching to win games right now. They're going to try to beat South Carolina 3 times this weekend. But you can see we're playing young guys. We're sending our coach recruiting on a Tuesday. We're trying to get in front of as many guys with the draft as possible. They're managing the program as well as this current roster. It's important that he does that. and he certainly understands that at this point. So LSU beats Southeastern 12-4 last night. Now they turn their attention to South Carolina. It'll start on Friday afternoon at 6:30 from the box. Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. We'll come back, talk a little football. What's the defensive depth chart look like? I'll give you my projected starters next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com. FabryChevrolet.com is the website. Go see him, Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Such a short drive from Baton Rouge, even shorter drive from Zachary, Baker, Scotlandville, even over there in Point Capee if you're in Ventress or New Roads, or certainly in the Felicianas. Hop, skip, and a jump. Highway 61, Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Fabry family's been at this for over 30 years in our community. They've got an amazing reputation because they take their customer care so seriously. So go by and see them. You know they got great deals. You can read about them online at FabryChevrolet.com. Get behind the wheel of a brand new Chevy Silverado. How about a GMC Yukon? Summertime. Vacation's coming up. Get you behind the wheel of a new ride. Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Love telling you about Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com. They're on Segan at Perkins. Such a cool spot in Baton Rouge. It's time for people to start playing a lot of golf. Spring is here. The weather is warm. So if you want to work on your game or have some fun playing golf, Swing Easy is a great place to do it. They've got individual bays with great seating options, got a television in there. You can crank the tunes, and that may be to just hit some balls on the quote-unquote driving range on the simulator, which can give you great feedback, or hang out with friends and tee it up at Pebble Beach. Go where they play that April tournament every year and give out the jacket. They got that course right there on the simulator. You can card a score. You hit your tee shots. You hit your putts. You can take a mulligan if you need to. You can take 50 mulligans if you need to. It's just a great place to go hang out and play golf. If you have not tried golf on the simulator just yet, go do it at Swing Easy Golf Club. I'm not here to tell you that it's exactly the same as playing 18 holes outside. It's not, but it's a great alternative. It's just something different. It can be quicker, can be more comfortable, can be more inclusive, can be more forgiving for sure, especially if you're a beginner for the game. So go check them out at Swing Easy Golf Club. They're on Segan at Perkins. They're online at swingeasygcbr.com. All right, chugging along here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com. We're wrapping up spring, and LSU's workouts are in the rearview mirror. It's all eyes on summer workouts now. But I want to go back and look through the depth chart as I see it. I did this yesterday on the offensive side, and I want to do the same disclaimer that I did yesterday and say, look, it's spring. This is my opinion. They didn't tackle anybody. That's especially important when you're thinking about defenses, right? But just based on what I saw, what I know, here's how I think LSU shakes out defensively. This is a group that comes back under Blake Baker looking to take another step. Like last year, you finished 5th in the SEC in scoring defense and 6th in total defense. That's not elite. LSU's defense was not great last year. It just was not great. They could not stop Vanderbilt. They could not stop Texas A&M. They had their issues in some other games, but they definitely took a step forward from the year prior, and they're 8 steps ahead of where they were 2 years ago before Baker got here, right? So you're just hoping for another step in the right direction. If you can go from 5th in the SEC in scoring and 6th in total to, 3rd and 4th, 2nd and 3rd in those, that all of a sudden is an elite defense. And so where does it start? Well, it starts up front. And I will be honest with you. I have my questions. I would not say concerns. I would say questions about LSU's defensive front. Not concerns, questions. I don't have a lot of questions about Prince Williman-Mielen. He's one of the ends. He had 9 sacks last year. He's done it in the Southeastern Conference. He's an older player. He's big. He's physical. He's got all the tools. I don't have a lot of questions about him. Jordan Ross is going to start on the other side. He's an immense talent, no doubt. But you will hear me say this 30 times between now and kickoff against Clemson. Jordan Ross, to me, is the Tennessee Vol with minimal production, not the 5-star recruit. He's the Tennessee Vol with minimal production, not the 5-star recruit. Now, the 5-star recruit comes with the measurables. But I want the production. And it's not there yet. Now, he's going to start. Gabriel Relaford getting hurt opened that door to where there's not really a discussion. I think Relaford could have pushed for a starting role on this team. Ross has got that job now. And I saw some good flashes from him in the spring. I saw a couple reps where he got back there and would have had a sack. Again, not tackling the quarterback. But some reason for optimism, but hasn't done it in 2 years in Knoxville. So those are your two guys on the edges. I think Dylan Carpenter had a nice spring. That's a guy that you look at as well. Damian Shanklin did some things that you like. I think that Prince Uleman and Jordan Ross are the edges. The interior defensive line is a spot on this roster that I have the least conviction in projecting. It's right there with wide receiver where you have options. They did a lot of substituting, and I'm not 100% sure. I'm 100% on the next two things. We'll get to linebacker and safety. Got that licked. No questions. Interior defensive line, I do. My gut tells me that one of the starting jobs on the interior defensive line for LSU is going to Deuce Gerald's. True freshman, not the highest rated defensive lineman in this class. Richard Anderson, Lamar Brown are those guys. Even Trenton Henderson got some more love than him in other places. But Gerald's came in, early enrollee, reasonable size for his age. He's not a 300-pounder by any stretch of the imagination. He's going to play in the 260s, 270s. But showed quickness, burst, get off, ability to shed blocks. Like, they moved him around. I went out in Tiger Stadium on one of the Saturdays we were there, and they had him on the edge in a dime type situation. I think they just are looking at ways to get him involved. I don't think they're looking at ways to use his skill set. Like, how do we get this guy on the field? It's like, we're going to play this guy a lot. Let's see all the things he can do. I think he's going to be one of the starters. I don't have a ton of conviction on the other one. McKinley, Blockton, Stephylan Green, all older players, all with Power 4 experience. Of course, McKinley at LSU, Blockton at Auburn, Stephylan Green at Clemson. All of them are big, are physical. I don't know which one is going to start. If you made me guess, held my feet to the fire, like, you got to tell me who's starting next to Deuce Gerald's, I would say Dominic McKinley. If we're going 10 is a lead pipe lock and 0, I have no idea, that's like a 3 or a 4. Because if you told me it was Stephylan Green, I go, okay, he missed the first week. Like, it took him a while to ease back in. That's fine. You told me it was Malik Blockton. He worked with the ones a lot. Absolutely. Told me it was McKinley. Yeah, I mean, that's what I said, but I don't know. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't really matter who takes the first snap of the game, right? They're all going to play. You've got a rotation. My question is, beyond who's going to start, is that a dominant group? Is that group going to dominate offensive lines? Deuce Gerald's, Dominic McKinley, Malik Blockton, Stephylan Green, Richard Anderson. Like, is that fivesome going to dominate opposing offensive lines? My answer to that question today would be probably not. That doesn't feel to me like Michael Brockers and Benny Logan in 2011. It doesn't feel to me right now like, obviously, Lavallee and Spears and Hill and Kyle Williams. It doesn't feel that way to me. It feels like a group of older players that are good players. I don't get the sense that that's a dominant group. I'd love to be wrong. That's just my opinion. But I think the starting group up front, Prince Uleman, Jordan Ross on the edges, Deuce Gerald's, Dominic McKinley on the inside. You move back to linebacker. You talk about ceilings and floors. The floor on linebacker is ridiculously high. Ridiculously high. Do y'all realize this? TJ Daugherty led the SEC in tackles last year, and Devon Keys was second. They're on your team. A year before that, Whit Weeks was second in the SEC in tackles. So your 3 starting linebackers, Whit Weeks, TJ Daugherty, and Devon Keys, over the last 2 years, have finished in the top 2 in the SEC in tackles. That's a high floor. I don't know if any of them first-round picks, but their floor is high. They're going to tackle a lot of people. You've got Tylen Singleton there. You've got a host of younger players beyond that Blake Baker really likes. But that's as high a floor on a position as you're going to get. Those guys, you can just pinch them in for a ton of tackles. So you go back to the secondary, and this is where the ceiling's really high. Because I think DJ Pickett and Ty Benefield can be All-Americans this year. All-Americans. Pickett's at one corner. P.J. Woodland's your second corner, and I like P.J. Woodland as a second corner. You move back, and it's the three safeties that they really, really like. Ty Benefield, again, All-American potential. TaMarcus Cooley, versatile, proven. He'll go in there and give you some good reps at safety, good reps in the slot, good reps at nickel. Like, he's a guy that can play. And then Deshaun Spears is going to play some more. Last year, he was kind of a dime guy, played a lot in coverage, and did a good job. PFF grades were high. He made some real plays. Obviously, the Florida game comes to mind. But, like, that group, the ceiling is way high. Pickett's ceiling's through the roof. Benefield's ceiling's through the roof. Deshaun Spears hasn't tapped into his ceiling yet. And you feel like Woodland is a damn good second corner and Cooley's a dependable guy. Jakeem Jackson's next on that list at corner, and they can go to him. But I think the five guys they're most comfortable with are those five. So if you look for a starting 11, and I realize that that's five defensive backs, I have to take a linebacker off the field, but you've got a defensive front with Ross, Umanmielen, Geralds, and McKinley. You go back to linebacker, Keys, Weeks, Daughtery. Then you go outside corners, Pickett and Woodland, back to safety, Cooley and Benefield and Spears. There will be times where a linebacker comes off the field and you go with those five DBs. There will be a time where you leave the linebackers on the field, you leave the five DBs out there, and you take a defensive lineman off. We saw some three-down lineman sets from Blake Baker's defense. So it's an old group, talented group, some continuity. Spears, Woodland, Pickett, Weeks, Keys, McKinley. Like, that's six guys right there. That's some continuity. And I think it's going to be a very good defense. I'm hesitant on dominant yet. Hesitant for that. But I do like the fact that all of August, this defense will be facing high-octane, fast-paced, weapons everywhere, Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss offense. I think that will prepare them well for the season to come. So I'm excited about that defense. I do have some questions about the interior defensive line and how it all comes together. But I think this group's going to be pretty good. So if you want to read about it, you can at louisianasports.net. Free stories up there. Got a couple more football pieces coming on this week. But we're nearing the end of spring football content here with LSU. We'll talk a little bit later on about what Lane Kiffin had to say yesterday in his press conference. We'll do that in hour number 2. When we come back, it's What If Wednesday. We'll do our segment with Dr. Bankhead from Auctioner as well, coming up at the end of the hour. So don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Love my friends at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running for 40 years. You're well aware of that. But I contacted Boudreaux's to come out to my house yesterday. Guess who came? Justin Boudreaux. Justin, Neil and Melissa's son, does an awesome job there, is ascending the ranks quite quickly and is doing a fantastic job. Their customer service is second to none. I like the fact that when you call Boudreaux's Electrical Services at 985-397-1562, you so often get a Boudreaux. You think they care? They've been at this for 40 years. They're making sure that their customers are taken care of, whether that's an installation, whether that's maintenance, whether that's monitoring that Generac home standby generator. Do business with Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can buy a Generac home standby generator from the big box stores. You can. But what's the customer service touch once you do it? So once you make that decision to get that generator put in, to give yourself the peace of mind to know that you're not going to lose power, you know you got to do business with Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Find them online at boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
End of this week, it will be May, which means we're inching toward Memorial Day. I want to take a second to talk about an incredible way to honor the men and women who have given everything for our country. First American Bank and Trust is hosting their Let Freedom Fly American Flag giveaway, and it is all about showing pride, respect, and gratitude for those who have served. First American Bank and Trust is giving away 500 American flags completely free. They're 3x5 feet. Full-size American flags, and it's happening Wednesday, May the 20th. So you got a little bit, but Wednesday, May the 20th at 7 a.m., First American Bank and Trust in Dutchtown. Stop by that branch. A perfect chance to put up a flag at your home or business ahead of Memorial Day to honor those who have served and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Just something really powerful about seeing those flags flying across our community, and it's a reminder of who we are and the freedoms that we enjoy every single day. So get there early, because once those 500 flags are gone, they are gone. But it's the Let Freedom Fly American Flag Giveaway, May 20th at 7 a.m., Dutchtown at First American Bank and Trust. It's a banking tradition since 1910. Our goal is to have OTB out there helping those folks at First American Bank and Trust with that. You can find them online at fabt.com. Right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, so what if LSU makes the NCAA tournament? What do they need to do between now and Selection Monday?
I think we've done this one a few times, but I'm happy to humor things because it gives me the slightest bit of fleeting hope. They've got to win 7 of the last 9 in the league and then go to Hoover and win a couple more. They've got to win 9 of 11 games probably. And as I said on radio in Southwest Louisiana this morning, like, that is physically possible. I just can't find one shred of optimism as to why it would happen. You've got a pitching staff in complete shambles with an ace that's on the shelf and a number 2 that's not pitching. You've got a lineup that is without its most potent hitter that's leaning on a bunch of freshmen. You've got a team that's lost 9 games in a row, a bullpen that's brutal. You've got to go play Georgia on the road. Like, it's just not a reasonable thing to suggest. I think 2 weeks ago, when I laid this out, when they were playing Texas A&M on Sunday, and I said, here's how you have to do it. And I said you could lose the game to A&M, then you needed to win 1 in Starkville, and then win 3 against South Carolina, and then win 1 in Athens and 2 against Florida. I felt that was reasonable. And it was, because they just about won 3 in Starkville. They just won none. If they had gotten 1 in Starkville, I would tell you, okay, here's the deal. You now have to go sweep a team. Sweep a team, which you haven't done since week 3 of the season.
Oh, my.
So that's what you would have to do against South Carolina. And that would be a tall chore. But at that point, if you could sweep South Carolina, like, then all of a sudden there's a real discussion to be had. You go to state and get swept. It's just, I know it's 1 game off my pace. It's still just difficult to try to swallow it. So it's just not a realistic thing. I wish it were, and they're going to play hard, and I'm going to watch every pitch they throw on Friday. But it's just not a good spot.
All right, so what if LSU doesn't get a basketball commit this week? What's going on with that, Hunt? Why do we have 1 guy still?
If LSU doesn't get a basketball commit this week, I mean, my anxiety level is going to go up.
It has to.
If they were at 6 players right now, I'd be like, well, that's not awesome. They're at 1.
Yeah, 1 is crazy.
1 is not very many. At least some of the schools have like high school classes that are coming in. You have nobody. No players. You have 1 guy. You have a defensive wing.
And that's it.
That's it. So, yeah, I mean, I was told by like what I would consider a very good source 2 weeks ago. I was told they've got like 4 guys that are locked in, just haven't announced it yet. Well, that was 2 weeks ago. Like, these kids can't get off Twitter for 2 seconds not to post where they're going or what they're doing.
Easy.
So the fact that it's been 2 weeks and nobody posted, like, that doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies. So I will be more anxious at this point. Like, Rivers asked for our weekly content schedule on LouisianaSports.net on Sundays. And for the last 2 Sundays, I've sent her, like, I can't put this on a day, but, like, they'll get a basketball commit and I'll write about it. Like, just a lot for that. And, like, it hasn't happened. We're sitting here on Wednesday of the 2nd week, and I have nothing. I have no news breaking. I have no portal profile. I got nothing. So apologies for that, but we've kept the content going on the website. It's not a good spot.
I just don't understand how is only 1 guy though. Yeah. You know, we understand. You know, like you said, you got 6, 7 of them. 1, and it's about to be made on Friday. I don't know, man. Will Wade's got a plan. He's the general for a reason. So, what if you had to project a Saints day 3 pick to be a steal?
I like the idea behind a few of them.
Now, day 3, that's rounds
4
5?
through 7.
Oh, 4 through 7, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the options here, Jeremiah Wright, the guard from Auburn.
Okay.
Bryce Lance, wide receiver, North Dakota State. Lorenzo Styles, DB, Ohio State. Barryon Brown from right here, and then TJ Hall, the DB.
Okay. Don't steal mine.
I think I'm going to go with the obvious answer, and then I'm going to go with the one that I have a good feeling about.
Okay.
The obvious answer is Bryce Lance.
Yes.
Big, physical, super productive. You don't have proven wide receivers. Like, would it surprise anybody if Bryce Lance showed up and was a little bit better than Devon Vele? I don't think that would shock anybody.
I think he'll play like immediately.
So, yeah. So, that's probably the answer. It's a 4th-round pick. I will go with Jeremiah Wright.
Okay.
He's big, and maybe there's an injury this year, or maybe he doesn't play as much this year, but then next year, could he take Cesar Ruiz's job?
Yes.
He could.
Yes.
Like, he's an SEC dude. He's athletic enough to have come in as a defensive lineman, which is a good trait to have. I think it's possible. So I would go with those two at top of my list.
Mine would simply just be Lorenzo Styles. It's just something about a guy that played both sides of the ball. So, and not only that, we've seen that, Jonas Sinker, what he can do, and his versatility in the secondary. He can play a little bit of corner, can play a little bit of nickel. He's just like a jack of all trades. And, he's got the pedigree of his younger brother, not his older brother. His younger brother, Sonny Styles. The guy ran a 4.2 in the combine. And if you go watch him at Ohio State, yeah, he didn't get an interception, but the guy was all over the field. He was a Swiss Army knife for Ohio State. He kind of reminds me of, 2021, like P.J. Williams for the Saints, where he was like, sometimes a safety, sometimes it might be the nickel. I like Lorenzo Styles, and I think he can make an impact. I'm not going to say immediately, maybe an injury or something, but I think Lorenzo Styles will make a name for himself.
It's that time of year where we're very optimistic about a lot of these draft picks, and the fact of the matter is that a lot of them are getting cut.
Yes.
That's just the way that it usually goes. And this Saints roster doesn't have as much room on it as last year's did, because you had some guys that filled some slots last year. So I'm glad they took all the picks, but the fact of the matter is, just based on math, you can't have all those guys. You got issues with the practice squad, the active, and that's what you got. So that's it for What If Wednesday here on this Wednesday. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com is the website. But I would just suggest you reach out to Joey Blanchard by text. I'm going to give you his cell number. If you're looking for a pool, looking for an outdoor kitchen, looking to build the home of your dreams, your forever home, Joey Blanchard and his team at Renaissance Homes and Pools is happy to help you. They're at 225. This is not them. This is Joey. 225-252-7745. Text Joey. Say, hey, heard your spot on Hunt's show. I'd like to build a pool. He'll get back to you. That's as easy as it is. That's how easy it is to deal with the owner of a company that takes pride in what he does. He's going to be there when you go through that consultation. He's going to be there when you go through the design phase, where he's got this incredible software that can build the most lavish pools as well as just a simple cocktail pool, depending on what you're looking at. He's also going to be there when they dig. He's going to be there when they fill that pool, when they finish the pool. You're dealing with the owner of the company. There's something comforting about that, and you do that with Renaissance Homes and Pools. Go check them out online at builtbyrenaissance.com and see some pictures that are great work. It's not too late to get into your pool this summer. It's not. It's still April right now. Contact Joey, 225-252-7745. Say, hey, I'd like to talk about a pool. He's happy to do it. Find him online at builtbyrenaissance.com as well. We still got tons to do. Koki Riley will be here in 15 minutes talking LSU baseball. Here's some sound from Lane Kiffin later on, 45 minutes from now, SEC Baseball Power Rankings. So don't go anywhere. We'll come back and close out the hour next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power. GoTro's Outdoor Power. 2 locations, one on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, one in Gonzales. Grass growing season means grass cutting season. If you're looking to get behind the wheel of a new zero turn, look no further than my friends at GoTro's Outdoor Power. They've got the largest Hustler inventory in the state. They've also got the largest parts inventory in the state. And they've got great deals that they're still running, up to $350 off the Raptor series, which is fantastic. Ask them about the deals that you heard about on Hunt's show, and they will give them to you. It started in March, and they've run through April as well. They've been in business for 22 years, family-owned and operated. Don't think of that as small. It's GoTro's Outdoor Power. GoTro's Outdoor Power, online at GoTro'sOnline.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Closing up up our number one here, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. It is, of course, time now for Sports Health, presented by Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Team at Ochsner out at Parkview Baptist today doing physicals. They've got a huge event coming up in 2 weeks. If you need a physical done, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturday, May 6th. You can stop on by Elite on Burbank at 5444 Burbank Drive and get a sports physical at no cost to you. Again, that's Saturday, May 16th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's time now to bring on our friend Dr. Chris Bankhead from Ochsner. Good enough to give us some time here on this Wednesday. Dr. Bankhead, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Injury prone is a word that I wanted to discuss with you today. It's obviously something that is tossed about a lot in NFL draft circles. There are players that there are concerns here or there, and the Saints certainly took a guy that has had some injuries. But not speaking in specific cases, just generally speaking, what do you think as a doctor when you hear the term injury prone tossed about?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's obviously a combination of factors. Some things are just bad luck. I think first it's important to separate sort of like bone from soft tissue. The biggest reason for that is bones, when they heal with the exact same tissue. They heal with bone. And so as long as they heal, their risk of re-injury is really no different than breaking any other bone. Soft tissue is a little different. It heals with scar. And so a lot of times with soft tissue injuries, your risk of re-injuring that same thing is a little bit higher. Hamstring is probably the most common thing, right? So if a guy pulls a hamstring, you always worry, well, like, what risk do they have of kind of hurting it again? And if you look at studies out there with professional athletes, that risk is relatively high, probably 30% recurrence rate. And then with sports like football, you wonder, well, like, how much time do they usually miss? They kind of average around 3 weeks of missed time from a hamstring injury, and it kind of varies. There's kind of a big swing. Sometimes it can be significantly more than that. Sometimes it can be a little bit less.
Is the severity of an injury indicative of whether or not it may happen again, or is it once it's healed, whether it was not as severe or extremely severe, once it's healed, it's the same?
Severity certainly does matter. I mean, I think if you have an injury where you miss, you have a hamstring injury where you miss like 8 or 10 weeks or something, it's probably a much higher grade injury that takes a longer time to recover from. I think as far as like the risk of recurrence, it's probably pretty similar, but I would worry that when it does happen, it would probably be more severe again.
Dr. Chris Bankhead is our guest here, talking to him about the term injury prone that's talked about. Some cases that I think of just in the big picture of sports, like Patrick Mahomes seems to always sprain his ankle in November, December, and run around there in a boot. We know that Joe Burrow's had 3 different injuries. We know that Steph Curry has missed a lot of time with ankle injuries as well. Like, are those the types of things you're talking about? That would you classify those guys as injury prone at this point?
I mean, I guess you'd have to, right?
Yeah.
Just based on their history, right? They've had a significant amount of injuries. Now, some of those fall into that same category of soft tissue injuries, right? Ankle sprain is a ligament injury. It's a soft tissue that connects 2 bones together. I don't recall. I think I remember Steph, had a procedure to kind of correct his, if I'm not mistaken. But ankle's another one of those ones where if you have one, the chance of re-injuring it is pretty high. Now, luckily for those guys like Mahomes, you see him out there hobbling around a boot. They tend to miss less time than something like a hamstring or some of the the bigger ligament injuries like ACLs and stuff like that. Certainly is a much longer length of time.
I know that y'all have got extended walk-in hours, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday over at Elite. Can you tell us what's going on over there?
Yeah, I mean, it's an orthopedic walk-in clinic for really any of your walk-in needs. We're open now 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So if you're out there playing sports, maybe you have a soft tissue injury, maybe you have a bone injury, you have any questions, concerns, thoughts about it, then stop by and we're happy to see you.
Dr. Bankhead, we certainly appreciate the time. Have a great rest of your week.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Dr. Chris Bankhead with Ochsner. I think it's an interesting deal, and it's one that we're not going to get our answer for a couple of years as far as Jordan Tyson goes. You can hear a medical opinion, which is certainly worth a lot more weight than mine, and suggest that, like these injuries heal with scar tissue, and it can happen again. But there have been plenty of guys who have played football that have pulled a hammy and that have come back and and been just fine. There have been plenty of guys that have pulled a hammy and have come back and pulled it again. I understand the risk that the Saints took at that spot. I do. And I don't have a medical background at all. But I know that the Saints have a lot of people on staff that do have a medical background. I know that the NFL puts these guys through the ringer. And I think the Saints have information that would suggest that the injury history is of minimal concern to them moving forward. I would trust that over my opinion or Joe from Plaquemines' opinion or Jordan from the West Bank's opinion. Like, I just feel that way. I'm gonna look at the player Jordan Tyson is before I look at the injury history. If the doctors suggest this is just something we can't deal with, I'm sure a lot of them did that with Garrett Nussmeier. Patella tendonitis, don't love it. Cyst on the spine, not wild about it. Okay, and I'm sure those same doctors looked at Jordan Tyson and were like, this is okay. This is a huge pick for the organization. You must hit in the top 10 on a rebuilding team. One of the biggest needs on your roster is playmaker, vertical threat, dynamic wide receiver. There are other ones in the draft. You don't have to take Jordan Tyson. Not like it's him or nothing, or you don't get one. There are other receivers. I just feel like if they made the decision to do that, they've got to have enough information to suggest that it's a reasonable bet that he'll be okay. We'll find out. We won't have to guess. We will find out if Jordan Tyson's able to make it through his first, hopefully, 5 years of the organization relatively injury-free. But that just remains to be seen. Wanted to get another opinion on it. Appreciate Dr. Bankhead for doing that for us. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Talked about LSU and Southeastern, plus the direction of the team and program this year. Went through LSU's defensive depth chart on the gridiron. It was What If Wednesday. Our LSU content always at Hunt on LSU. When we come back, Koki Riley of The Advocate, been with the LSU baseball team all year. We'll discuss with him coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Marucci. Get on by and take a tour at Marucci. I've been telling you about the tours for a couple of months. What an awesome, awesome, awesome resource and opportunity you have to go see where they make the official bat of Major League Baseball. What a cool thing to have in Baton Rouge, right? Talking about 1,200 of these things that are made daily. You can go through and see where they make these, from the cutting room to the staining room. You can hear the story of how they went from two pros, former pros, in a backyard shed with their athletic trainer making a bat to the official bat of Major League Baseball. You can see where the bat that the best of the best use is made. You can also take some hacks. Get in the hitter's house. Become a member at Marucci. You can get key card access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get in there and take some cuts. You got a youth baseball player, youth softball player in your house that's eating up with it? Get on by Marucci. Check them out online at maruccisports.com. That's Marucci right here in Baton Rouge, maruccisports.com.